Talk no more, none of that shit. I'm gonna let him say
Let's go, hey.
got me started. Wrist frames carded. Pull up double parking. Don't even pay like I'm the owner. My young niggas retarded.
Yo, what up, guys? We're on the clock. It's Caleb here, joined by Julian, and our new addition to the squad this year. We got Kam at Only One Podcast on Twitter. If you don't know already, well, here he is. What's up, guys? How are we doing?
You know what? I'm excited for the season now. It's like past the point where we've got the summer blues. The Olympics were a nice little break, I guess, for people to, prioritize their agendas. Like Jason Tatum's bad because he wasn't playing in the Olympics, or Nikola Jokic is the best player ever. Those are the two main ones. I'm not going to talk about Embiid, but it's like a month till the season starts. People are finally starting to tune into some previews, so we might as well tune into ours,
Yeah, 100%. Before I start, going into our spiel, we obviously, like I said, got a new addition. Kam, how you feeling about being on, on the clock podcast feed, as well as, showing up at the Center Hub, which is what this podcast will also be featured on YouTube as well. So, Kam, how you feeling about, the new addition to the 6-Month Madness podcast?
Excited, man. Appreciate y'all, like always. We locked in. Like Julian says, it's that kind of middle ground of the year where you just kind of churn out your prospects, get your film done, try to get some takes going.
100%. Yeah, and we're happy to have you. I mean, so obviously, like I said, this is the first episode of the 6-Month Madness series, which, every week on Wednesdays we'll be posting, covering, college basketball and kind of like your talk show type format, where we'll also mostly hit on, because we are draft guys at heart, we'll always try to hit on prospects every week. So if you're new to the feed, make sure to like, follow, subscribe wherever you're seeing this. And we appreciate the support. And we'll get into here the first conference that we have in this series, the Big 12.
A doozy.
How are we feeling? Yeah, a doozy indeed.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
I'll start it off with saying that, in my opinion, I think this is the best conference in college basketball.
I mean, it's hard for it not to be, given that it has 16 teams and that it added, probably the consistently best team in the Pac-12, former Pac-12, RIP Pac-12 in Arizona. They added, we talked last year about how they added Houston, they added Cincinnati and UCF, who, Houston off the bat, great. UCF, Cincinnati, have always had stretches where they've been really, really good. It's weird, they lost Oklahoma and Texas, but they got better.
100%. I'm interested to see, the implications of all these type of moves in the long term. For right now, I definitely agree that it strengthens up the entertainment and factor, and also, like you said, adding a giant program in the college basketball world to the top of your conference is always going to beef up the schedule for everyone. So super exciting. And obviously that's also going to beef up kind of, the prospects within a conference from our perspective is also exciting. We want to start kind of talking about where we kind of have these teams ranked. I guess we can start at the top with the easy one and kind of just run through the roster. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Jayhawks in Kansas.
They got your boy.
Yeah, AJ Storr headed over yonder.
Actually, they got two of your boys because they brought Rylan in there too.
Yep. A lot of wing transfers, obviously adding in, Zeke Mayo is more of a combo guard, but dominated the transfer portal early. And it'll be interesting to see, I guess, kind of how they utilize all of them, in terms of maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. Again, with some of these guys and the opportunities and places they've been. I don't really know what the path for AJ Storr to the NBA is at Kansas. I guess he's just, really going to have to shoot the cover off the ball and the spot up, because that's where I think a lot of his best looks are, probably going to come from. But I don't know.
They added Coit and Shaquille Moore as well. David Coit from Northern Illinois and Shaquille Moore from Mississippi State, I believe. So that's I'm definitely interested to see what they're gonna do with that guard room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of miles of feed. Sadly, I feel like my boy Rakeem Passmore from OTE, he might catch the. You see your faces.
He might catch the red shirt, bro.
Yeah. It's
I don't
tough.
know.
It's tough for him,
Go
and
ahead.
it's also tough for El Marco, dude. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
because El Marco, showed flashes last year, but he was kind of up and down. He had the playmaking ability, but uh, there's no chance, I mean, like normally, like as a freshman going into your sophomore year, like you're the starter, like especially coming
Do you
off of.
think they're starting Zeke Mayo at the 1 and running Zeke and Rylan and AJ and trying to like play big, or maybe throwing a smaller guard?
Yeah, I think they're going to play big, especially since they've got, I mean, Bill Self knows how to run an offense through Hunter
Isn't
Dickinson.
Dewan Harris back another year too?
He might, I think he is.
Because
I,
I had their point
Yeah,
guard spot penciled in my mind, and I'm pretty sure it was Dewan Harris.
he's still there, so they're
Yeah,
log jam.
yeah, and then obviously we haven't even mentioned Hunter Dickinson.
yeah, I mean, Rip Floyd Badunga, like this team is ridiculously loaded. I mean, look, Bill Self is capable of managing minutes, but how do you keep all these guys happy, man?
You don't.
I
Some
don't know.
some bought in. Some really bought in.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see kind of how the roles shake out early. Uh, but it's definitely one of the more interesting stories. But I mean, we have them all at the top. Unanimous number one to start off our previews as a conference leader. So, it'll be interesting to see kind of what goes down. But again, a dominant year we probably can expect from Hunter Dickinson and lockdown defense from Dewan Harris. So
I will say I have them one, but I don't think it's a lot. I think about 2 through 5, where you got like Kansas and I think it's like Iowa State and Houston even because
mm-hmm.
and just coaches them so well. Baylor because Drew coaches them so well and they have talent too. So I don't think it's just gonna be a runaway for Kansas. I think they drop a few.
Yeah, and it's what makes it one of the better conferences in college basketball. And I think, a big thing that's going to cost maybe them some games early in the conference schedule is some of this, role definition stuff and figuring out, who's taking some of these shots late in the clock. And then also, I don't know outside of Dewan Harris. I know we talked about Marco and Passmore, but if they're not really getting like a ton of crazy run, just seeing how quickly they again, get adjusted to a bunch of new faces around them that are in key roles. So it'll be interesting to see how like the backup initiator minutes are used. So I don't know. I think that there will be some opportunity for some slippage. And then also, like I was saying, this conference is so talented. It wouldn't be surprising for them to maybe not be the top team. You know what I mean?
All right, let's do it. So Baylor.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this Baylor team. I feel like their front court depth is severely hampered this year. Like Jalen Bridges was a big, big loss for them in terms of just like he did all that. They don't have like a Matt Meyer guy, a Jalen Bridges guy. What's his freaking name? Is Caleb Bonner still there?
Nah, Kale Larner.
Yeah.
Kale Larner's on Utah.
No, Bonner.
Bonner, I believe so.
He's still there? Okay. But their front court's really, really weak for me.
Yeah,
Obviously, we
Then
can talk about how ridiculously stacked their backcourt is right now. I mean,
But I mean, bringing in Norchad Omier, I thought you would like that ad, Julian.
I do like that ad.
no, that helped
Um,
tremendously.
I love him as a player, and I think he's going to make them able to speed up, their play. I think they're going to be one of those teams that plays really, really fast.
Yeah, Jimmy Roach is going to push the tempo 100%. And, obviously getting to like Langston Love's going to push the tempo. And VJ is like, going to come in and push the tempo and be a major factor in the open court. Um, Obviously, Edgecombe, the freshman I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I think at this point in the process, we all have him top five
hmm
unanimously. Cam's making a little face there, like he's got him at like 20 or something. But
Yeah.
No, no. He's top five. I gotta look though. It's probably some taller, cooler guys, but he's top five.
No,
yeah,
I think in terms of like talent, like athlete, like he's the top athlete and one of the top athletes in this draft.
100%. And he can
Yeah.
shoot.
And he can, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He
Like,
defends.
like,
Special prospect. I mean, super. I mean, what a class for sure.
I
yeah,
think VJ is probably the most dynamic guard prospect in this. Like, and Scott
we'll
Drew
get we'll
always
get
seems
more we'll get to more individual stuff later. We'll get to more individual stuff later because we'll probably
right.
talk about him later.
Um,
I think real
Moving
quick. I
down,
think
just keep moving down. Obviously Baylor, we all had kind of their item two, which may have carried like our ranking a little bit. I still think that having the experience in the backcourt of Jeremy Roach, like most of these Baylor teams do, having an experience at the guard spot, and then I think that they do have okay depth in the front court. It's just like not a lot of like certainty. But I think bringing in Norchad Omier does a lot for them. And I think VJ is going to be able to play like the wing spot, and he's going to be really dynamic and fun to watch. I think he'll be more impactful of like a freshman, like in a non-scoring sense than like a guy like Jacoby Walter was for them. So I think that I
OG.
think that
I think OG Owuna might take a step forward this year. He finished it well and played some good defense, and he's tall and athletic.
uh-huh. Yeah, he's a good player. So I mean, I think that there's definitely a lot of talent on this squad, and like you're saying, Coach Drew's just one of the best in the game, and he's going to get the best out of his players. So again, I always kind of lean towards Baylor towards the top, especially in the regular season.
yeah, they kill in the regular season.
Yeah, this play with a lot of pace and stuff to keep up with when you're playing multiple games a week, and they're just more ready for it than you are.
Yeah, but some of these teams like Arizona have some
Mhm.
serious, serious depth, though. I mean, Arizona has two, guys who are probably going to get a majority of the minutes at 7 foot in Visar and Krivas. Krivas is going to start. They also have Emmanuel Stefan as another like third solid big man option if either of those two guys go down or if, Visar is a red shirt if he doesn't work out. And then obviously Arizona's bringing back Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley, their backcourt. They've got KJ Lewis coming back. And they brought a couple of big names in from that transfer portal, man. Uh Anthony Del Orso and Trey Townsend are some like serious heat.
Yeah, no doubt. I just think that they're gonna be all right.
Really.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've seen a lot of really really good Arizona teams, and I don't think this team has a ton of like consistency in the front. I mean, in the front court they have Krivas. Who else do they have again?
They're
Visar and Manuel Steve
Visar.
and Toby Awaka.
they got a Waka too, yeah.
Yeah, they brought him.
They're-
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of the where this team will go will be driven by Krivas. I didn't realize I had them 6 on a ranking. I think that was a mistype, low key. They low key should have been 2, I think.
I think real quick about Zona. I mean, I know me and Julian talked about this off pod. I think Carter Bryant could end up being the X factor for them because he's what a lot of teams don't have. no, most teams don't have a 6'8" movement shooter that can play D and kind of get something going
Rebound too.
off the and rebound. He really affects winning. So if he can really step into a cool little role as a I don't know sixth option at worst. Uh,
I just hope they treat him better than they did Polias.
exactly, because Polish is about to make somebody regret everything at St. Mary's. So
Yeah.
He's about to be insane at St. Mary's. We'll talk about that later.
it killed.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I may be underrating this Arizona squad a bit. They did do a lot of work in the portal. I low key forgot about the Trey Thompson ad when I was putting some of the ranking in. Um, and he's gonna be a dog for them. So yeah, they're gonna be right up there. But like we were saying, the top like 5 teams in this conference are all gonna be really good. And then there's even some teams here towards the middle that are still like super exciting. Like kind of Iowa State is kind of in this middle spot where they could kind of be like 4 or 5, 6 towards like the lower end of the top teams in this conference. What are you guys feeling about Iowa State this year? Obviously, Milan Momcilovic is one of my guys, Julian. But the rest of the squad is, solid.
The one thing that I think Iowa State has over everybody else is that they brought back 3 of their 5 starters. And the style of ball that they play is that grindy, wear you down, slow the pace, burn you out, really kind of just bog the game down kind of style. And they have, again, 3 players in Taman Lipsy and Keyshawn Gilbert. Their starting backcourt is back. And like you mentioned, Momcilovic, like they have guys on their team that know how to play their style of play. They're going to be able to implement that style of play early on. And I think especially against even the teams that have been in the conference for just a year, and the new teams, I think are gonna really, really struggle. I think they're gonna win a lot of the games against like BYU, Cincinnati, Utah, Colorado, and maybe take one against Arizona. I think they're just gonna wear on teams all season, man. Like Otzelberger and I think it's McCaslin now at Texas Tech and Kelvin Sampson love to play this like grindy 47 to 45 like we're going to slow the game down. You're not going to get rebounds. You're not going to get second chance points. You're not going to get out in transition kind of style. And I think it's really effective in the Big 12, especially against teams that are more talented than Iowa State.
100%.
I would say about ISU, I wouldn't necessarily give them the nod if it was just Gilbert, Lipsy, and Momcilovic, and that's what I'm hanging my hat on to compete in the new Big 12. But when you add in arguably one of the most exciting young international prospects out there, and no just Idrisatis,
Mm-hmm.
who dominated EYBL Scholastic, which is the best youth league America has to offer. He dominated it, on great efficiency, which is rare for that kind of skill set and that size. So then they add in the transfer portal Deshaun Jackson from Charlotte and Brandon Chatfield from I believe Seattle. And they're just 2 really good bigs who are efficient, play good D, smart, and they have experience. Then they add Josh Jefferson from St. Mary's, who's a key toolsy wing for them. So they keep adding these impact pieces. I can't see how they don't have a really good year. On top of Nate Heiss, another shooter who can really shoot it with pretty good size. So I don't think they have a lot of weaknesses, and I think they all defend it.
Yeah, I got no arguments on that, man.
100%.
Like I don't think they're gonna win the conference. I don't think that style of play is quite enough to generally like Houston's the only team that can play that kind of basketball and win a conference, in my opinion. And this may be biased because they do it all the time.
Right.
But I think like Iowa State's gonna be in the running and they're gonna be a high seed in the NCAA tournament. Like they're just always gonna be there. I don't know how far they're gonna go. Because again, it's so matchup dependent with the style of basketball that they play. but like, they're going to be top 5 in the conference and go to the NCAAs. That's just what's going to happen, you know? Um, I think that segues us perfectly into Houston, who is actually more. I like this Houston roster a little bit better than I liked last year's roster, to be honest. I think there's more high end on there. I think the guard play at Houston last year with Sharp and Cryer was cool. Like they're both good guards, but adding Milos, I know Caleb's gonna be happy. We're talking about Milos Uzan. Like he brings a new dynamic. Like they've been missing that kind of like. I mean, Emmanuel Sharp's a good scorer. Don't get me wrong, but they've been missing that like Sasser Jamal Shed type of player in their backcourt that can like make something happen. I think Ujan brings that perfectly.
100%. I think he brings an element of unpredictability to their offense that they didn't really have before he joined this roster. I mean, I think Terrence Arsenault coming back is a great player to keep. After they've kind of, just kind of moderately used him the last couple years. But I think he's gonna, always due for a jump in my eyes. And then obviously bringing back the two big front court players. I say big by Houston standards at 6'8". Javier Francis and Juwan Roberts. Like those are great guys to bring back to really solidify a team. Like you're saying, I mean, returning for basically 4 key players from last year's roster. That was one of the best teams in college basketball. Was solid. And then you add most Uzan, like you said, which I think honestly will help their front court guys even more. Because as great as Jamal Shed is, he's not like he's not an A1 facilitator. He can get to his spots in the paint and definitely distribute and get off a floater or like a quick little midi, but he's not like a guy who's gonna like take you off the dribble and like step back, like pass out and like be like a big enough guard to like move off the ball like and cut to the basket and then like create something, within like a motion offense and like do it like, you know, without like having to have the screen set and like create like a mismatch. Like that type of like mismatch creation to your backcourt, you don't take a pressure off a lot of guys. So I don't know. It'll be fun, like you said.
And where are you at on Houston coming into the year?
Uh, I'm learning my lesson with Houston. Even though they're probably in the middle of the conference talent wise, they're still going to be a top 3 team because Sampson knows how to coach. Uh, they have no size, but they have a lot of versatile defenders, and I think that's how he kind of likes to how he likes to play defense. A lot of potential to switch, and just kind of be a problem on the perimeter and not be easy to get by. I think they have 2 underrated prospects too, in JoJo Tugler and Chase McCarty, who actually could fulfill some legit roles for them, especially Tugler, where it feels like they always would love somebody to help out in the front court, as
Mhm.
well as Roberts and Francis do. And so if Tugler can get in there and be that kind of weak side 4, he could be very interesting. And Chase McCarty is that tall, kind of off guard type wing that they don't really have, other than they have a bunch of guards and they have Arsenal, and that's kind
Yeah.
of their recruiter. So I think McCarty could also fill a role coming from IMG Academy, standout performer. So it could be another successful season for Samson. I think anyone saying they're top 5 in the conference is right, and they win the conference, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
it's
It's
weird with them too because they rebound so much better than everybody else, even without size. And you give them a little bit of size, which it seems like they've got a little more size this year. Alongside Francis and Roberts. I mean, that's scary. You know, they could rack up 15, 20 O boards a game, and they do sometimes do that. Even again with their tallest guy being 6'8", like Caleb said before. Um, should we continue on the gritty teams train with Texas Tech then? Who I think we got next
uh,
up. I was gonna say Texas Tech. For me, I mean, we're gonna go further than Darion Williams, but how much further do we really need to go than they have Darion Williams?
He's sick. He's a lot of fun. I think that he has a low key a dark horse to win Player of the Year in the Big 12. I think that he shoots the ball incredibly well and gets teammates involved, can guard multiple positions, rebounds like a big. Um, I don't know. He's kind of like in a Derek White, Josh Hart type of mold, but has like a lot more on ball ability at this point than a lot of those guys had. So I'm excited to see where he continues to develop as a player. And then also, obviously a huge addition and potential pick and roll partner and JT Toppin. Um, that's where like this Texas Tech team for me like starts to get scary. I think Toppin, shout out Cody for Game Break Now. And also the Center Hub, did a breakdown of JT Toppin and covered a lot of the stuff that he just does around the rim that's just exceptional in terms of instincts, verticality, and what he can do on offense and defense. So I don't know. I think that he's like for me was like one of like the big game changer moves. But I think a lot of people saw him, taking a leap to go somewhere different, especially after the way he was playing early. And I think that this is a great landing spot for him, like you said, playing a gritty downhill style of basketball as a team. Um, and there's a lot of other talent on this roster. I know that there's some guys that Cam likes Cam likes freshman wise, and Christian Anderson. Also getting Kevin Overton from Drake, who had a really good freshman year last year. Um, I think that that's a really big pickup potentially on how they use him. Um, Kern Walton's a solid shooter. Uh, doesn't really do much other than shoot, but I think the backcourt has a lot of potential.
Yeah, they bring back Millen. He played a lot of minutes last year, played a pretty big role for them. So they have some continuity. They're just, I kind of realized, you either have a bunch of 7-footers or you're about to just run 2 6'9" guys in the Big 12. So it'd be interesting to see what style will win. I feel like the 6'9" style might win, but the level of 7-footer in the Big 12 is still pretty high level, despite not having, that that top group of bigs.
Yeah,
100%. And speaking of it, I mean, that could transition us quite well into the next team who may have like a game breaking potential freshman big who could get, potential usage like quite highly and be somebody that gives a lot of these, 6'9" bigs a problem, especially on offense and UCF with Mustafa Thiam. I just watched some of his tape yesterday. He's pretty crazy.
yeah. I mean, UCF's like alongside of Mustafa Dayam, their influx of talent is ridiculous. Like
Absurd.
they rated, I mean, so I'm gonna just go down the list of guys that they rated the portal for this year because they basically almost their entire roster. Do they have any returners?
Yeah, so their returners are
Tyler Hendricks.
Ayers Johnson, Jalen Sellers,
Tyler
uh,
Hendricks.
Tyler Hendricks.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
good though. Yeah.
adding to those three, they brought in Jordan Ivy Curry from Pacific. They brought in Mikey Williams and JJ Taylor from Memphis. They brought in Keyshawn Hall from George Mason. They brought in Benny Williams from Syracuse. Debo Coleman, they also brought in from, he didn't leave Georgia Tech, so he's still from Georgia Tech. They brought Dior Johnson in up from JUCO. Elijah Hulsewe, I hope I'm saying that right, another 7-footer who they brought in from Bethune-Cookman. They brought Rokas Jusius in from LaSalle.
He's
And
he's nice.
yeah,
Joshi,
I mean, that's what, 8 guys they brought in the transfer portal. And
Yeah,
again, they
but they
also
also
brought in.
added Cameron Simpson, who's a decent talent alongside Thiam in terms of freshmen. Simpson's a good shooter, big guard, 6'7".
I
So
mean,
they're stacked. Like this
That
team is loaded. And I had them number 7. I have them as my dark horse in this conference to win it all. I think that there's a world where, if Dior Johnson buys into a bench role and they're really able to, run out there with I mean, what is like even their like starting lineup like hypothetically?
I mean, you probably run what? Ivy Curry out there,
Darius
Darius Johnson, Keyshawn Hall, Jalen
Yeah,
Seller. You could run Debo Coleman out there to start too if you want to go bigger in the backcourt.
I think it's those four and Thiam. I think, or with those four and Josias is going to end up being the 5.
I mean, that team's
yeah. I don't think that there's any world where they don't start Thiam.
I mean, this team is
Those four and Thiam, and then they have a ridiculous amount of depth at every position.
yeah, I mean, and size, like depth and
Size.
size at every position, which is
Size.
I mean,
ridiculous too.
JJ Taylor and Keyshawn Hall, um, like additions alone for me would have made a team like my favorite team in the country. But like, just overall, I think that this is like going to be one of the more enjoyable teams to watch from like a draft scouting perspective. There's just like a lot going on in terms of narratives and guys that could surprise you on any given night. Um, and like they really like have the talent of like and like intrigue of some of these like really really big programs that bring in some of these like huge freshman classes that are super fun to look at. Like seeing how they put all this team together is going to be one of the more like underrated stories in basketball this year.
Yeah, it's crazy too because if you look at it outside of the names, like from a fit perspective, these guys all shoot the ball at a high level. I mean, obviously, other than Tiam and Hosule, who are just giant 7-footers who are going to clog up the paint, like you look at Keyshawn Hall, Benny Williams, Debo Coleman, like those guys shoot the cover off the ball.
Mikey
Like
Williams can get his own and is a good athlete. JJ Taylor can really should get to it in isolation, like really. So like if JJ Taylor pops, I mean,
if
watch out,
JJ and
bro.
Dior pop, I think this team could win the conference.
Dude, if they both could like easily be the 6 man of the year in any conference in college basketball next year. Like that's really like how I'm feeling like about this team. Like they're gonna be crazy.
I want to say I noticed when I want a bunch of young guys to play, the coach typically just opts for his older guys to keep his job. So I think I think it probably can end up being a lot of Jordan Ivy Curry and
100%. It's
Derek
gonna be a lot.
Ellers.
Yeah. Tyler Hendricks is gonna get a lot of run.
Yeah, I think he'll get some
Debo,
in there.
Debo's gonna get a lot of run, but one can dream, bro.
You feel me? But the thing is, like you said, if those guys can pop and just give them good minutes, it's over. I think they're top 3 in the conference.
I mean, and it's not like I'm saying they're all conference. I'm saying like
Yeah,
if they can make a run in for like 6 man of the year,
Yeah.
newcomer of the year, or something like that, or something. You know what I mean? One of them, and then Mikey. You know what I mean? Who knows what they're gonna get from Mikey? So it'll be interesting to see.
I think Mikey, he's just talented. I think he was easily a top 3 guard coming out of his class, talent wise. So it's
Yeah, and he can throw it down. He's good. I wrote about
also
obviously both. I wrote about Mikey and JJ in my article, and you
yeah.
know they're both good players. Um, and like you said, it's just they're gonna probably get passed over again this year for guys that can play defense.
I think Taylor plays enough defense at six
That's what
eight.
I'm saying. I'm hoping that getting shown with only playing 3 games completely healthy at Memphis showed him that he has to play defense, otherwise he's not going to touch the court.
Exactly.
So it's like if he didn't learn then, he's gonna go out there and watch Keyshawn Hall in practice, a guy who literally like completely changed the trajectory of his basketball career in one off season. There's no better person to work with than that. And Ivy Curry is gonna come in, bring mentor and leadership from
And
the
he
get. a veteran guard spot, and he's been a leader on a team for a while. Like that's been his thing. So, like you said, this team's complete. We all have them kind of in the middle, but I don't think any of us would be surprised if we're talking about them as, like a top 4 seed potentially in March.
And
No.
yeah, I think 7 in the Big 12, you're probably still a 20-win team. So I think they're gonna be they can still have a great season and still be 7-8. But they still had a great season and be a tournament team.
Yeah, I mean that it kind of like speaks to what we talked about at the start of the pod, which is like this conference is so crazy that you have Kansas State, who's our next team, who literally made a Final Four run a couple of seasons ago and brought in serious talent, like like the name that is going to be brought up first is Coleman Hawkins. Like we don't even have them in our top 5. No one does.
Best front court in the conference.
Yeah, man. We'll see how Kaluma looks. They're bringing back Arthur Kaluma.
Nah, going to Texas.
Oh my God, he transferred?
He transferred to Texas.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
But don't fear because Ugono Nyenso is here.
Bayfall. They brought in all though.
Dude, I mean, him, Onyensu, Hawkins, they got Bayfall.
How do you score on that?
Core.
David Essen. I don't know how you score on that on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that team is a month. I mean, size and mobility up front.
And then, I mean, just the other players that are on the roster, like it's like Taj Manning, Mikhail Bridge, like 2 young wings, both 6'7". Like there's just CJ Jones, big guard, Max Jones, big guard. And then round out the point guard spot with my boy Dougie McDaniel. That's fun. They're gonna be a really fun team. I think McDaniel is going to have a good year offensively for sure. There's not like a ton of isolation or go get your shot type of guys on that team. I think it'll be a really big year for Coleman Hawkins, I'm guessing. The boosters are going to want to see him get in the basketball.
I think A-core. I think he's going to slip right in there for there's some shots to go around. I think A-core and Max Jones probably and get them up.
And we didn't even mention their best returner, David N'Guessan.
Yeah,
like another big, long, intimidating wing. This team's so long, man. It's funny that Jerome Tang went to the Final Four with a guard who was 5'9", and now you look at his roster and he has 7 or 8, not actually that many, but I'm slightly exaggerating.
He's still got a guard who's 5'11". So
he does still have a guard who's 5'11", but he's paired him with 4 6'9" to 7 foot up front. Do you think they're the only team in the conference? They won't actually do this, but you think that how funny would it be if they ran Doug McBuckets out there with 4 forwards and just said go big?
Honestly, you can run Coleman Hawkins at the 2, bro, and you can run a core at the 3.
You could,
and I guess on with Fowler on this, so boom, there you go.
There you go.
You run that for 6 minutes. Nobody wants to play that.
You can call it.
That's the scariest team in the country, bro, with a 6'10" shooting guard.
It's funny though, because you at UCF, we just talked about them, could easily stick up with that on any day.
100%. They honestly would love to face that, bro.
Or like
give Keyshawn Hall Bayfall in isolation, bro. Let him clear out one side of the floor on Bayfall. Barbecue chicken, bro.
I mean, but that's the thing,
up fake, turn, spin, easy look. He'll turn, whip it over his head to the corner, bro. The JJ Taylor's right there, spot up. We got Debo, spot up, knock down. It's easy, bro.
I mean, like, I think that's kind of what speaks to them, Kansas State being so low, though. Like you mentioned UCF, but like Texas Tech, Iowa State, and Arizona can also put out a lineup, and obviously Kansas, but like those are 5 or 6 teams that can put out a lineup that can easily match what Kansas State's doing.
Yes,
and they have better guard.
Their most absurd combination of talent and size. they're still can be competed by the best version of a UCF team. You know what I mean? That only has to run really like 1 or 2 7-footers to compete with, whatever size wings that Kansas State's putting out there. I think
Only one or two.
another team that is going to have a lot of interest in size to compete with the teams in this conference is West Virginia. Our
I'm
next
really excited about West Virginia.
I am too.
dude, I didn't even realize until yesterday that they brought in Sincere Harris, who I think is super fun.
Mhm.
Obviously, like, a major ad and Toby Okani from UIC. Like, I think that was a great gig. And then, I mean, the biggest move of them all, Tucker DeVries.
I mean, I think
And
the
Amani
bigger
Hansberry. And Amani Hansberry too. I was expecting a bigger reaction, but I didn't get it.
it's okay. I mean, I think the bigger move, even more than Tucker, is who he decided to follow. His dad, Darian DeVries, who's going to now be coaching this team, and
Yep.
that's what makes me so excited because not only like do they have all this talent that we just mentioned, but you know they were completely in flux after the whole Bob Huggins thing last year, um, and now they have like a bona fide coach who knows how to win, brought his superstar son in, brought a bunch of talent in, and is going to make this team like we have them ranked low, but like they're going to be good.
I think the big reason why I know for me personally why I do see them struggling in some games is their quality of front court is a lot of projection. Like you gotta really project Hansberry and you gotta really project Toby Okani sliding into that 4 spot in the Big 12. And then and also Eduardo Andre, who I know you guys aren't probably the hugest advocates of. So they definitely fall short in the front court department. And then the level of guard isn't quite pitched to the level with some of these other teams either. But they
No,
I have the best wing in the conference. So
yeah, I mean they're a good basketball team, but you're right. Like talent wise on paper, if you look at the rest of the teams, especially with all the teams, above them that not only like were good last year, but also juiced the hell up, like the level of talent that they have, while it's good, especially for, a first year head coach at the school, with Darian DeVries, it's not quite the level that a newly juiced up Big 12 with a bunch of very, very juiced up teams. It honestly is college basketball on steroids in the Big 12 right now. And, West Virginia is operating without steroids, unfortunately. Like, they're good. Don't get me wrong. In a lot of other conferences, like, if you throw West Virginia in the Big East, they're probably a top 5 team in the Big East.
bro, any other year of college basketball where you throw in Jaden Stone, who was a 20-point scorer at Detroit Mercy, and then Tucker DeVries with Toby Okani, who was also one of the best players in the NBC. Any other year, that's like, oh yeah, you're lit that year. You're definitely going to the tournament. We're not sure they even win, 12 games in this year in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, do we think they're 500 in the Caleb? Do you think they're 500 in the conference this year?
I think.
I'm really trying to think about it. I don't know. I think that they could really be on the underbelly of this conference like quite easily if Tucker DeVries isn't a superstar.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like he needs to do his best impression of Dalton Connect for this team to be a top 5 team in this conference. Like it needs to be his best impression that he can do. Because
That's
it's like
every
he can definitely do it though. He can get the buckets like that. I think he's on that tier of like scorer. I just don't think he has like the defense or athleticism to
yeah.
kind of back up that type of like star role in a major conference. But I mean, I'd love for him to prove me wrong.
I think it's athleticism, like you said. I think he never really won with his athleticism, and I think in the Big 12, where most of the wings they're either going to be
There,
3 guys and with high athletic
Darion Williams, I'll be curious to see what their first matchup goes like. Because I
as matchups.
wouldn't be surprised if Darion just like puts him on the block and like gives him just like work. Like I like really like
Guard against Tech. He's got the guard against UCF with Sellers in Hall. He's gonna have to guard against Baylor with Edgecombe.
He can't guard Keyshawn Hall or Darion Williams. And
Yeah,
those are like the matchups that he like if you're gonna be able to go take on AJ Storr or Anthony Del Orso or like Zeke Mayo or any guys like that, like if you're gonna really be like and that's why they win Gato Kani, obviously, to make up for some of that.
yeah,
But like he's gonna have but like some all these teams have two guys, bro,
it's
three guys.
not the guard,
Yeah.
man. You
So
really got
it's like he's gonna have to guard somebody, and I he's played good defense. He's been a serviceable defender at the Missouri Valley Conference level.
And he hasn't been put on the best player on the other team for a majority of the time.
No, he's not guarding Levy Leons even. So
yeah,
it's like
he's
you
not
know what I
guarding.
mean?
It's more on Missouri State and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I know. It's just like yeah, it's whatever. But what's not whatever is honestly our ranking of this next team because I just I
uh,
love the bro. He's sick. I think he's easily one of the more like intriguing freshmen that we have in the country, especially like if you're looking at like international players in college basketball, not looking at like Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, all these huge names that we've had coming in. But um Igor Demon's gonna be the guy at BYU.
Dallin Hall probably do his best impression, but Igor Demian is gonna outshoot him. If he outshoots him, it's Demian's team. But they
And
brought
I
the
mean
ball and that's it. That was probably their most impactful returner in Dallin Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the guys they brought in.
this team could stink.
Yeah.
Besides Facine Traore, like Richie Saunders is okay.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Saunders.
he'll shoot for sure. Um, and I mean they brought in obviously Cannon Catchings,
He's
who's
if him and Demian, if they just tell Hall and Saunders we got this, they're getting drafted because they're gonna get all the usage. They're gonna have all the usage.
get out, like literally just clear out, bro. Like Demon's like you don't even gotta talk. Like there should be no the kid's got perfect English. He should just walk in and like he knows what needs to get done. Like he showed it at every single level of like how to be like a superstar and premier player on a team everywhere he's been. So I mean, if it's not this year and it's next year, if he doesn't have like the greatest year and he stays, AJ is going to BYU, bro. If AJ, I mean, I don't even want to talk. That duo, yeah,
Oh man. So
I mean, the funny thing about BYU is when we talk about Igor and Cannon, um, that's their two tallest players, and they're both guards.
yeah, they're big. All their bigs. That like they're big. Like all their bigs are 6'8" and 6'7".
Traore
but it's
6'6". They got Keba Keita at forward, Mo Mag at forward, who are
that's
six
why I
seven.
really think if you lean into Demon as your lead initiator, and it's like, okay, like what are all these other teams gonna do when they are like throwing out these small guard lineups? And it's like, what I mean? You can play Saunders at the three, like he'll get after it a little bit, like
Yeah,
and he'll be fine. Catchings can play the five like in a small ball lineup, but I think even Troyori can get down there and low in the lineup. So it's like, I
I
don't know. Well,
I have some sleepers for them. That I think might end up playing a lot just because they have their roster so up in the air as far as rotation wise. At guard, I think Elijah Crawford. He played a huge role at Brewster. He's a three level monster that can pass it, and he's pesky on D. And he's the kind of guard that gets burned early in his career when situations like this
like a
occurs.
Jizzle James type of
Yeah, Bill James, but
Malik Mack like type
yeah,
of role.
more
Yeah.
oriented, but he can really pass it, and he can really get downhill with great burst. And I
Yeah.
think super big that because they run such a small front court as far as the transfers and the returners they got. Kadeem Mboop from the NBA Academy, he's about 6'9". He's gonna be probably their tallest big, but he's very athletic and he's smart and he knows how to play. And he's a freshman, so he could end up sliding in there if Keita and Traore don't really get the job done. Because I mean, you're gonna throw Traore out there against
Leonard Dickinson.
Tech feels like they have more size than them. Like, come on, man, that's gonna look weird.
So they're kind of like if I were to, comp them to an NBA team, they're kind of like the Toronto Raptors of the Big 12 low key. Like a bunch of guys in like one height range, which is 6'2" to 6'9". Most of their guys are 6'5" to 6'9". But even their tall guys can do everything. The
Right.
problem is though, is that the Big 12 has so much length and so many guys who can also do everything at those heights. Like
Older, they're way more experienced.
yeah,
Yeah, it could
and
be a really rough year for this BYU team.
you know what though?
I on them, Caleb, and Julian are like, we don't know about that one, buddy.
I'm
I don't know, but I think they'll be good. Like because I want them to be good. Hopefully, you know what I mean.
Be
I think
great.
Igor will be good if that
Ain't
makes
that
you
Yeah,
feel any better.
or I gotta root for him, man.
I don't think that they're gonna have like a go-to like play style early. You know what I mean? Like I
I
think
mean,
they're really gonna have to like figure out um and but that's how they've kind of been the last couple years where they kind of just like even last year they just kind of looked at their talent that they had and made it work. Like
yeah,
and Kevin Young is that good of a coach. So it's like we shouldn't really have to worry about it too much, I don't think. Like I think this is like really what we can start to expect from a lot like and we've been able to expect from these Big 12 coaches is that they're able to just like assemble a roster and figure out how to get these guys to buy into their style of basketball. And I think that a guy like Igor Demon, who's like, and Cannon Catchings, who have both low key been in like basketball oriented, even Crawford from Brewster, like really, really basketball oriented environments throughout their development, I think can really, really easily buy into a program that they're pitching and selling over there at BYU. And I wouldn't be surprised if all three of them have really good years.
Brody
yeah.
Kozlowski, before we go, Brody Kozlowski's tall shooter could help their season because
He could
tall.
be a good four spot. I was looking at him. He could be a good four man for them. I think if they're gonna need minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
Even starting, like there's minutes to go around in this team.
OD minutes to go around, man.
Just like there are at Arizona State, who's our next team. But we all have them at 11. I actually wrote about Arizona State in my 82 and 72. I don't know how I feel about this team because like I look at it on paper and I'm like, all right, you brought in BJ Freeman. Great. You brought in Bashir Jihad. Great. You brought in a couple of really, really good freshmen. Um, I just there's something about like the talent that's assembled that I just think the roster is just weird. Like I don't know what I can say like how to place it. I just feel like they're gonna struggle, and I feel like their guards are gonna struggle in Big 12 play.
I mean, Amir Ali could be really, really good. Maybe. I
Uh,
think he's like a solid player, really, really fun. Um, but I don't know like how consistent he's gonna be as like a freshman, and he's not like a premier floor spacer, so he's not like one of these guys that like can just come in and kind of plug and play. Like it'll really like his success is really gonna rely on his shooting. I think, I can't pronounce his name, but Quaintance,
yeah,
Quaint,
Quaint. Yeah, Quaint.
Quaint, um, he'll be really good. Like he's super talented, super athletic. Um, but I don't know. Like you're saying, Julian, I don't think either of these guys like fit to like jump off the board to me as like draft prospects immediately. I think they'll both be really good players. And then like you said, I don't see like a heart on this team besides like I think BJ Freeman could be really, really good and we'll get after it. But like there's like this team doesn't really have like a I don't see like an identity, I guess.
That's fair. I'm,
Besides defense, of course, because that's just a Big 12 thing.
yeah, I think that's fair because a lot of those guys are like they're gonna rely on a lot of newcomers to give them a lot of production, whereas some teams are bringing in returners.
They'll be good.
So, but I really think I think they're deep enough, and I think they're tall enough, and I think they'll play enough defense and they'll rebound. And they all rebound. You can't say that they all rebound and they all have good athleticism and they have plenty of scores to go around.
Yeah, I think they're gonna turn the ball over a lot. That's gonna be their down. I
Yeah,
really do. Like,
18-year-old big would do that. So
I mean, like, not even just that. You've got, I mean, we didn't mention Brandon Gardner, who's coming from USC, unproven commodity, and you have three guys transferring up from mid majors. You know, we didn't mention Austin Mason either, who's also transferring up. But like a lot of their minutes are coming from the only returner that they have that other than I think Phillips played some minutes, but
yeah,
Adam
Phillips.
Miller Phillips came off the bench and Adam Miller's their only returning starter.
Yeah,
You know, and Miller's like okay. I just don't think like that they have a lot of cohesion, and well, it's a combination of two things, right? Because a couple of other teams that we've looked at, you know, don't necessarily have that cohesion, but they have the talent to kind of just be like, all right, fine, like they'll figure it out. Like while this team is talented, I don't think that the lack of cohesion is going to be like their talent level is not overwhelming enough that it makes up for the lack of cohesion.
right.
I
You,
think Amir Ali could be really good.
yeah. So I was gonna say I think Ali and Quayens. I think they do some pretty they do some pretty important things very well at an efficient rate right now. The only thing is with Quayens, he's 18-year-old bigs. You can't really rely on them to be your leading scorer. But I think if he's like their fifth guy that they kind of just go to, and you know those older guys they brought in kind of take over a lot of the scoring, they could be. I definitely think they could be top 8 in the conference just because they have more talent than some of the teams we talked about already, like the BYU's and West Virginias and even like the Texas Techs. They just have more talent than these teams. But these teams are, you know, very well coached and they have plenty of talent themselves. So I see why we all had them, you know, outside the top 10.
Yeah,
What
I think that they'll be solid, but you know, like we were saying, there's no like real core go-to thing with this team that's gonna like make them pop as like a dark horse candidate. Um, Cincinnati, this team I honestly, besides Jizzle James, and Aziz, I'm pretty sleep on. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, honestly, I can't really even disagree with you on that.
So my pushback on you guys is, and I'm not high on them either, but I know why people are high on them. They bring back a lot of key guys, and the thing is they brought in some very very good players. Like even though Ayrton Page didn't play that much for UCF, he's the kind of big every team wants. And then they brought in Connor Hickman, also a very good guard where he was at. Then they brought in
Yeah, Mitchell
They brought Dylan Mitchell in.
and they
and
brought
Samas Lokisios.
Lucas Yos.
yeah,
I'm not. I can't, bro.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Simus Lukisius is coming back. Dan Skillings is coming back, and Jizzle James is coming back, and Aziz Banduogo is coming back. So
Yeah, and don't they actually get Ravon Griffith this year too?
yeah,
Yeah, they
Trevon
do.
actually played with them this year. Oh, and
So
Tyler
they'll
Beck.
they'll be really good. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Cam, is like beyond Jizzle James. Like yes, these are cool names, and they have the potential to be really really good players. But like Arim Page was meh last year. Like you said, like that he's the type of big that could be really impactful. Dylan Mitchell's the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? He's the type of forward that could be like he's a great defender, super impactful, but I don't see him like you know what I mean? Where's like besides Samas and just James, like depending on what Ravon Griffith does, I don't like see the offense on
I
this
mean,
team.
on
Like,
paper they bring back their leading scorer Dan Skillings, so
yeah, him too.
he wasn't particularly efficient or high volume though. So it's not like
No,
he's
he's really inefficient, and that's why I don't really like think about him necessarily.
it's like he's not. So they're not that inspiring to guys like
That's
us.
how my like ADHD, OCD brain works for basketball. Is I'd like wipe out of my memory like the inefficient guys. I like disregard them as non-impact players.
I see why people like them though. I see why people have them very high in the conference.
No, 100%. They have a lot of talent. But here's the thing. This is one of those teams where I just don't really buy a lot of the talent on the roster. Like
Yeah.
I thought Dylan Mitchell was going to be really good the last 2 years. So it's like, you know what I mean? He's got to really like do something for like all of a sudden me to go, oh wow, this like Cincinnati team added Dylan Mitchell and they're also getting Ravon and they're also bringing back all these returners. So they'll be good, but it's again, I don't think it's Big 12 good.
Yeah, I'm left uninspired when I look at this team, if I'm being honest.
Jizzle James is gonna be sick though. I'll
Oh
watch
yeah.
Jizzle James. So
Jizzle James is phenomenal.
Tyler Betsy, read up.
all right.
Got 4 left.
Three.
We're 3/4 of the way through the Big 12. We still have 4 teams left. That's ridiculous.
Man, I do not want to talk about these teams.
I love TCU. I'm a big Jamie Dixon fan.
Why? Why do you like TCU?
I just like TCU. I just like the way TCU plays basketball
Jamie Dixon gets the most out of his guys, though, to be fair.
every year,
He
always.
does.
Even when he was at Pitt, he knows how to coach, obviously.
I mean,
100%.
I didn't think this TCU team was very good last year either.
And he figured it out. Yeah.
And like he's brought back a couple of guys. I love that they brought in Trizarian White. I think that was a massive.
Deshaun Alette was also a big ad.
Who?
Yeah, Deshaun
Deshaun
Alette.
Alette.
Yeah. I was say they got Alette. That was tough. Alette and White. Those tough grit. Those tough gets. And then Michael Robinson, the freshman from Oak Hill.
Noah
Yeah.
Reynolds too.
Yeah, they brought in some great guys.
Noah Reynolds will be a really good player.
They are
I think
one of the worst front courts in the league.
no doubt about it. But Ernest Uday is due another opportunity to be a dog, bro.
Alec Diallo, David Punch, like a bunch of the whole reason why y'all hate Cincinnati should also be right. You don't like to use front court.
I have them.
I think they'll be solid. I think they'll be better than Cincinnati.
Yeah, solid squad. Yeah, they're definitely not gonna be under 500. No.
In conference play?
Oh no. Overall, chill.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Chill.
You know what though? I feel like that they're just like someone's gonna break out for that team, and I think that they're gonna be in the top 10 of the conference, despite us not thinking so. I do have like a sneaky feeling about that. Like
They have the perimeter talent. I will say that they have the perimeter talent, and the perimeter talent does guard it decent enough, so they definitely could handle some things. And if like Caleb said, Uday takes a step forward, that's enough. That should be enough to be top 10 in the conference for sure.
yeah, I mean, looking at the roster, I think there's a reason that we all have them this low.
All right, can we skip the next team?
Who's that?
Oklahoma State.
You're like Oklahoma State.
Bro, they stink.
Nah, they're definitely sticking up the place.
Besides
think-
Bryce Thompson, who don't get me wrong, is a good, fun player, and shout out to them to being able to convince Devontae Davis to ruin the last year of his college basketball career here.
I was talking to Cam off pod about it while we were doing our stuff at the same time, and I was like, man, like how does this backcourt survive?
How did
Like-
they all of a sudden get Devontae Davis to like agree to join this absolute like
This is a train wreck.
trailer trash?
This team's gonna be really bad.
Yeah, Dean and Brantley can't be out there together. Like,
No, they cannot. Please no.
they can't be out there together. Like,
And I love both of those guys too. Like I love them as players.
really.
I feel bad this team like basically like lost like the two really, really cool, promising pieces that they had in their front court. Like
Yeah, Daily.
with Daly and Miranda. Like both of them just
And Brandon Garrison too.
and Garrison too,
Garrison.
all three.
They
Yeah.
lost four. They lost four in three.
they lost a Big 12 front court.
Lost their
and
whole four in the front court. That's tough.
didn't replace it at all.
Who? Because their front court is. Don't tell me. I know this. I always think about this. Abu Usmane from Xavier. He's coming in.
Yep.
And then they got Tyler Karen from a D2 sleeper. He because they don't have anything to do. They don't have anything in the front court, so he could end up just taking all the shots up.
They got
Pat's-
Marcellus Avery, who's not terrible
Pat
either.
Sumner could be all right.
They brought Marcellus Avery from UCF too. So I don't. I don't. I think the problem with them is the Big 12 is too good. I think they're not. They don't have better guards than anybody, and they had one of the worst front courts in the league. That's like a recipe for a bad conference season.
To be honest, I think the only two teams with worse front courts are the two teams below them.
Nah, their front court is not better than Colorado's.
Let me go back and look.
All Colorado has is a front court.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
That's all Colorado has is forwards and
I really disagree with you stomping all over my Utah Utes like that. I think
Utah Utes.
it's gonna be okay.
Utah could be better, the best team out of that bottom four, I think.
100%. I think very easily. You have the Madsen brothers. You got Miro Little coming over from Baylor. Ezra Osar from East Carolina, who's a really, really fun player to watch.
Got Burke
They
from
have Caleb Lohner.
Mike Sheriff Jams coming over from San Francisco.
They have the talent.
And they got Lawson Lovering.
Lawson Lovering coming back, yeah. They have the talent. And Hunter Erickson played a good bit last year for them.
And but above all else, I think that this team does have like a capable go-to player. And he's just like hiding like right underneath the surface, bro.
Let's break this down, bro.
Gabe Madsen.
Is Gabe Madsen a top 10 player in the conference?
I don't think
so.
You just went through all these teams, Caleb, and you think he's a top 10 player in this conference.
Mm-hmm. In terms of like his importance and
to the team, okay, I get you that.
Yeah. And then also like his role, like is Derek White a top 13 player in the United States? so don't come at me like that.
There's no way we just threw those two in the same conversation. I do love Gabe Madsen.
Nah, but you guys really don't see parallels like that?
No, I do. The
parallels and logic.
Scaling is crazy.
I think it's more of a perpendicular than a parallel, to be fair.
No, but I'm saying like awards aren't all based upon like just direct ranking of players, and like achievements aren't always determined based off of like a singular list. You know what I mean?
I see it from that perspective,
I think Gabe Madsen's undoubtedly the most talented player probably on this Utah team, except for Ezra Osar, I think. But like he's going to be solid. Like he's probably going to average like 15, 16 points per game. He's going to shoot around 42% from three, like shoot a really high percentage off the catch. Like that's, and he's going to get after it on defense. This Utah team is going to be all right.
I don't care what he does, bro. Just get Miro Little the ball.
100%. Miro Little is also also in that conversation for most talented guy on the team. But I think that you need like guys off the ball that can knock down shots to, highlight the best parts of your lead initiators. And I think Gabe Madsen's that guy. And it could earn him an all-conference nomination. We'll find out, though. We'll talk about it in a minute.
I mean, I think that it's debatable to say their front court is better than not Utah State's, Oklahoma State's. I can see
that's not debatable. How is that debatable, Julian?
It's debatable.
Their front court is so much better than Oklahoma State. It's not even.
Bring Asar, Burke Biounticool, and Mike Shark.
Burke? No, they don't have Burke. They don't have Burke.
Yeah, Burke.
Nebraska, brother.
No.
Different middle of nowhere state school, but close. They're definitely not. I just don't think they're going anywhere. I really don't.
What, Utah?
Yeah.
No, it's all right. I mean, we can agree to disagree. I think that they'll still be decent, though.
I mean, how are we classifying? Are we classifying like decent overall or decent in conference
play? Decent in conference because I mean we're focusing within the conference. So I think for their expectations and standards, as you can see by my rankings, I think that they'll be better than probably. I think honestly, Colorado and Cincinnati.
Yeah, you thinking better than Cincinnati is absurd.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I need to drop Oklahoma State to bottom of the conference, to be honest with you.
They're not better than Colorado. I mean, they're better than I think they're better than Colorado, for sure.
It's close, bro. It's close.
Colorado might have the worst guard situation in all of Power. Like,
Uh,
or,
uh, well, what's harder to win with? I mean, I guess it's harder to win with bad like
Yeah.
backcourt play than it is with bad front court play.
sure. It doesn't.
I
Some teams
don't
don't
know.
even.
I just all the middle of this conference is just like pretty like everybody's kind of in the same boat, except for like undoubtedly, I feel like Oklahoma State is just like a dumpster fire, and Colorado has like no guards.
Uh,
That's just my
yeah,
opinion. Dude, I cannot believe that they did not get like a major front court presence. Like it really like it destroyed the roster, bro.
who?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of front court, I mean, in Colorado, at least they brought in Bangkok Dak, they brought in Trevor Baskin, who shout out to Cody on Game Break Now. Cody on Game Break Now did a breakdown with Trevor Baskin. I do like
All
Andre
right.
Yakimovsky. Like they
You're
have
right, but he's not Grant Nelson. Let's not
no,
let's
he's not Green Nelson. No,
you know what I mean?
he's a good player. You know, he's probably going to start for them and put up decent numbers, but you know, there's a reason that we have Colorado at, you know, towards the bottom of this conference.
100%. I think he'll Baskin's a good player. He's super talented. And you know, obviously hoping for the best for the rest of the roster always, but
All
I
right.
like Nick Randall. I like Nick Randall and Sebastian Ranchik. I think they're going to be nice players. Again, two forwards. I don't know how impactful you can be as a team with six forwards and one guard. Julian Hammond was coming back, and I guess Felix Caceres, who really wasn't even a top two guard on his high school squad. So
these teams are just gonna run back to the portal, kick everybody off their roster, bro.
100%.
How many
Baskin's only there for a year. They're like, all right, Baskin, let's try and get you drafted. Get like our if any of you guys play NCAA, get our pro potential up for our school. And you know what I mean, move on to the next season.
Yeah.
how many wins between Utah, Oklahoma? Oh, not Utah, because Caleb
In
likes
conference wins, like 5 between the 3 of them. Like
between the three of them. You think five?
I
I
think
do think they're
Utah.
all Utahs.
Yeah, I think Utah wins 5, and the other 2 win 0 in conference games.
Yo, that's actually interesting because what games are Oklahoma State and Utah gonna win?
What if they play each other?
I
Someone
think
has
I
to
think,
win.
I think Oklahoma State whoops Colorado's ass.
I think they do too.
Bro,
they
guard
might.
play always like if you have guard play, like, you're gonna figure it out.
How so Colorado we got winning no games in conference play.
Nah, I mean obviously
That's a hot take.
I don't know if that's that hot.
That might
No
go up
games
on
in
TikTok.
conference play.
you
How
think
many games
you or
does
BYU
Colorado?
they'll catch BYU young ass.
You think
Yeah,
no?
they probably will.
They'll
They
catch
they
BYU.
might.
It's BYU or Arizona State. Are
I
the
think
two
I
that they
think
could
I think
catch.
BYU and Arizona State both drop at least 1 or 2 games to both of these bottom 2 teams, and probably both of them are due to drop a game to Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think BYU loses to Utah like quite easily, to be honest. Gabe Madsen's like that, bro.
bro, they have real experience. Like I don't know if BYU is gonna just do whatever with that. And then Lawson Levering isn't bad.
He's dogging that whole roster, bro.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna
He,
trade
he's a
out.
tower. He's a tower over all of them.
He's gonna throw Trevor on them.
Sure they don't have any 7-footers. They don't
They
have
don't
any
have-
6'10"
all right.
guys.
All right, let's move over to some other stuff, but before we dive into the rest of this beautiful preview, we'd like to thank our sponsor at the Center Hub.
Hmm.
Julian, you want to take it away?
You know, I think since our next little segment is going to be about players, it's as good of a time as any to talk about our sponsor, Cerebro Sports. Our new sponsor, they are a stats website. They will find you stats for high school games, college games, international games, NBA games. And they have their own unique statistic. They've got RAM, which is their own personal stat, which is a number out of 1,000 for players. And then they also have CRAM, which you can look at if you want to compare how players did within an event. Their database is super, super easy to search. We've all had a lot of fun working with it and like doing rankings and, finding prospects on there. Um, Really, really, really cool stuff. We've been working with them since the Center Hub launched, and they are an amazing sponsor and grateful to have them. So go check them out at cerebrosports.com. We will have the link in the bio. We will probably also have the logo somewhere in here. But check out the link in the bio down below, cerebrosports.com.
Yeah.
How's that, boys?
Well, that was just a riveting ad read, Julian. Now we're back to our regularly scheduled program, where we're talking our all conference teams, baby. Across the board, we all pretty much agree that we're going to see Coleman Hawkins and Hunter Dickinson, you know, kind of dominate like their respective areas. For Coleman, that's going to be kind of like being like the ultimate glue guy and Swiss Army knife at 6'10". And for Hunter Dickinson, it means drop step in 15 to 25 times a night, and trying to, fend off the 6'8" big men within the Big 12.
Do you realize how ridiculous that sentence was that you just said about Coleman Hawkins?
What?
A 6'10" glue guy that does that, because he does everything, and he's 6'10". That's ridiculous.
I mean, you're telling somebody who's had him mocked in the NBA draft for the last 2 years.
I know.
Facts. Same.
I mean, it's just he
So-
shouldn't be in college basketball still. Neither of these guys should. If I'm being completely honest, there's something wrong with this picture.
Should we talk about them in the Player of the Year race then?
I
Because
don't think Hawkins has the numbers to be in the Player of the Year race.
I don't think he's going to put out the offensive output. I think Hunter Dickinson will undoubtedly get the usage and touches at the end of possessions, because it's just that's the way Kansas plays. Is they're just trying to try and orient getting like the best shot, and that's why I don't know what AJ Storr thought he was escaping by leaving Wisconsin and running to Kansas. Like, you're just gonna get the same exact like low post offense in your way for your drives. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know
the big scores more.
either. I don't know if he thought he would get the ball more at Kansas, or he's wanted to play for another.
I don't know why he didn't go to Illinois. I wouldn't have been mad at it. Like, I would have thought it would have been a really sick like move. Like, Illinois would have been like, I'm sure like he would have been able to get like even some of their talent to maybe stay there too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Hunter Dickinson's a bucket. Okay, next part. Obviously, we all like, Tucker DeVries. He was also in that unanimous all conference first team. You guys both had Taman Lipsey. I'm obviously not a small guard fan. In case you haven't like noticed by this podcast, I'm not like a huge like believer in any guard under like 6'4". So, I left him off my first team, but a super dynamic player for Iowa State. And it's a surprise we didn't spend like a ton more time on him when we talked about Iowa State. But I don't know. You guys got any notes about Lipsey or DeVries before we move on to other guys?
I can talk about Lipsey for a sec, because I think we did kind of gloss over him a bit when we talked about Iowa State.
Yeah.
There's two things I really love about Taman Lipsey. One, he's an absolute dog on the defensive end. He's a bulldog. He's kind of like those Houston guards that we always talk about. He's constantly in your face. He's constantly aggressive, but he also offensively, he sets the table really, really well. He's a really, really good facilitator. He can get his own shot. He can get to the basket. He's just the kind of guard, and now he's been there. It's his third season, right? And he's just the kind of guard you want running your offense. And, if I were picking this as like our first team, second team is like guys that I think that are NBA draft prospects, like you're right. I'm with Caleb, and like he doesn't make the list. But I think like he's going to be the best player on a really, really good Iowa State team, and I think that's going to get him, a first team nod.
He'll probably be. He's a senior, right?
Junior.
Yeah.
Sure.
He'll be at Portsmouth next year.
Yeah. Cam, what you got on him? Either one, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, with Lipsy, like you said, two-way, great three ball can get to the rim. So I think I didn't really look at the conference teams like, oh, who like player wise. I was gonna have more like impact to their team and then what that team will do in the conference.
Uh,
I think they're gonna be one of the best teams in the conference. I think he's gonna be, around 13 to 15 points a game on really great efficiency and great two-way play. I think that gets you a first team nod for PG, especially where PG in this league, it's either a scorer or a table setter. It's not really too many just guys that's about to just take over scoring wise. So I think he scores it a lot better than a lot of point guards in the Big 12.
yeah, I blatantly filled my first team with just a lot of my favorite draft prospects from from the conference. And I like Lipsy. He's a solid player. I don't know. It doesn't get me going to really talk about him that much. But a guy that I do like to talk about, obviously we talked about him earlier, was Darion Williams. I had him also first team, and so did Julian. And that kind of wrapped up our first team for the most part. I guess from like a unanimous sense or like our like official selection, we kind of had Tucker DeVries, Coleman Hawkins, Hunter Dickinson, and then like kind of like a split vote for the last three spots with Keyshawn Hall, Darion Williams, and Taman Lipsey. And we'll obviously show a lot of this stuff on the screen. I think like the tiebreaker would go to Darion because he was on like the second team, whereas Keyshawn wasn't on Julian's teams at
I
all.
was so close to putting him on my second team for what it's worth. I
So,
genuinely just wanted to get more teams involved.
and then
That's literally
Taman doesn't get the. So I guess the tiebreaker would go to Darion Williams. So Darion Williams is our other first team selection, alongside Tucker, Coleman, Hunter, and then honorable mentions for Keyshawn and Taman. Moving on to the second team, like a little bit more of a mixed bag here from all of us. I kind of went for a lot of like X factors within the conference I think could be, exciting conversations like a Gabe Madsen type. I did say before the podcast that he could like have like a Pat Connaughton-esque season this year, like Pat Connaughton did at Notre Dame. So yeah. But I think that he, maybe not second team all conference, but I think a guy that, we also talked about a similar boat with AJ Storer, where I think he could have a similar impact, where he could be a really, really impactful player on winning for Kansas, and could, maybe have like some long-term draft implications just due to like the, player profile being like a bigger wing. I don't know. Is there anybody like Mateusz Krivas is a guy that Julian knows I love that he had on there. We also had Milan Momcilovic make appearance twice. Across the board, JT Toppin, all of us picked him to be second team, like I mentioned before. Momcilovic is going to be, I'll be interested to see what he adds to his bag. I'll have some words coming on him, later this. I think they'll actually already be out. Articles going out on Tuesday. We're covering top returners in college basketball, and actually, talk about two guys from this podcast with Darion Williams and Milan Momcilovic. So some cool film breakdowns there for both of those guys. But I guess I'll leave that little teaser in there if you want to go see more. Go look there. Toby Okani is like a good name. We'll obviously talk about him potentially as like a defensive player of the year candidate. Julian mentioned. I, obviously brought up Jizzle James, somebody who could take a step forward as a sophomore, and put up a lot of numbers and potentially like make a run at like an all conference team. Caleb Love's always there. LJ Cryer. So a much more of like a mixed bag, whereas like the first team's like very solidly, we all kind of have like a good idea of who like the best 7 players in the conference are. Any notes on your guys' second team? Any guys you want to give like any particular special attention that we didn't give a chance to?
Yeah, I'm particularly excited for Milan and Krivas. I know you mentioned them already, but like they're both guys that I think um give we're not expected to be as in by the masses, not by us, obviously, to be as in and in as prominent roles as they were this last season. And I think I'm really excited to see what the next step is in their development in terms of like how their role expands, right? Like Motias is going to probably be starting this year. Milan's probably going to get a lot more touches this year and a lot more looks. So I'm really curious to see, what they look like with after having a full season and coming back. And now it's like, okay, like we know these kids can play. Let's see, where the upside goes from here. Those are two guys that I'm personally really, really excited about. Cam, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I think on my second team, I probably had a lot more like different guys. I know Aziz Bandogo, probably you guys weren't very high on Cincinnati, so seeing a guy like Jill James on there was weird for you guys. I think last year he was extremely efficient at the rim, and he was one of the best rim protectors, and he was also one of the better rebounders in the country. I think if he can, keep that up on top of them having a better team, which will make his life a lot easier. I think he could slide in at a 5 spot that is not very, other than Hunter Dickinson, the 5 spot's up for grabs as far as awards and just who's one of the best fives in that conference. Every other five in that conference is really a rim runner. So it's the battle of rim runners out there. Dickinson, I think Bandogo is one of the better ones. I
I kind of
yeah,
slotted JT Toppin in as like my 5 and did small ball on my second team.
I put him
yeah,
in at the 4.
yeah. I put Toppin at the 4. He will be playing a lot of 5 this year, but yeah, I got Toppin at the 4. I think Toppin. I think us having all having Toppin, it kind of shows you how good Toppin is going to be this year as far as his opportunity, and then the guards he's going to play with. He's going to play with probably better guards and wings, or definitely better wings, and then he's still going to have some help in the front court. So and he's going to play better competition. That's just a recipe for a great season. I don't know. I
Yeah.
know I hate my Caleb Love. I got Caleb Love in there. I think last year, if you look at Caleb Love's numbers, bro, his number like you look at Caleb Love's numbers and you look at his play, it's two different stories. But I think if he can get a little more unselfish as a point guard, it'll probably end up boosting Arizona, and
Wow.
it'll end up giving him a all conference because he's gonna.
It's almost like people said like, oh, if Love was a little bit more unselfish at North Carolina, he
I
could have
feel
been
like
a draft pick.
I was
Bro,
gonna say this is like the Ben Simmons offseason thing where we hear this every
yeah, we do hear it every year.
Caleb Love is gonna be a better playmaker. He's gonna be a more premier like on ball player. Like,
year.
he can dish it out. Like, he's gonna be the number one guard. Like, I don't know. I just don't know if we'll ever see that like type of like commitment from him to like not getting his own shot and not being like the guy that like gets the moment. You know what I mean?
I think it's slight though. I think like with the improvement he has to make, it's just slight. It's not gonna be like
I'm hoping he's honestly watching this and gets slighted by it and starts passing the ball more. It'd be really impressive.
yeah. I mean, I don't. He doesn't have to like change into a premier table setter. I just think if he takes like the slight leaps in some of his mid range efficiency and some of the passing stuff, just slight, like not even really
Pass
just
the ball, bro.
casual guy. I don't
Just
know.
pass the ball. You have so much talent on that team. Please pass the ball.
You
Yeah.
feel? He just passes a little. It'll make him look better too. So he definitely is a guy that I know people don't love, but I think he has the
Eh,
numbers and the
I
opportunity.
feel like I feel like he like the mixture of like him getting like positive reinforcement in his playing time for his play. Guys like that are the reason why like players like a guy like Paulius won't like succeed there. You know what I mean? They're not like the hyper aggressive like verbal like guys that
Yeah,
are gonna like be like really like he needs like the trust and stability of a guy, like give him the post touch, like give
Yeah.
Paulus the post touch, let him work a little bit. You know what I mean? Where Milan had that type of like nourishment and commitment from the guards on Iowa State to get him involved in that way early. Like, wait till you guys see the film on Milan's like footwork and the freedom that he had as a freshman. There's nobody like it in the country. And I think that if Caleb Love commits to like, you know, nourishing Carter Bryant's development a little bit more and guys like that, it'll do a lot more for like his like draft stock. Like, believe it or not, like Caleb Love, if you help other players get better, team teams teams will actually like want you to be on their team like in the long term, and they'll want to invest money in you. And like, you know what I mean? Like that's what it comes down to. Like people aren't going to invest money in a player who's like selfish. So you know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to for me with him. And that's what like the eval's been for like the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like he's a grinder, competitor, winner, like every good intangible that you can want, except for the fact that the ball just sticks with him too much every game. No matter what mistakes he makes on one possession, he'll make it again if it's, you know what I mean? Like, so, and I think that, if there's a year for it, Cam, this is the year. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like, numbers wise, he definitely has a chance to do it with ease.
100%. Like he will have the usage and opportunity to do it. It's just like, is this going to be the year? And that's why I'll give this up my Caleb Love soapbox. You know what I mean? Because we're going to see a lot of them this year. It's and that's why I mean that's honestly why I had him kind of low. But I think that there'll be enough of Anthony Del Orso and Trey Townsend mixed in terms of like impact, like off the ball or on the ball, both of those guys, that they can overcome like whatever mistakes are made, like all teams do. But it'll be interesting for sure.
Speaking of a lot of mistakes, let's talk about the Rooks. Because these
Yeah,
Rooks
I
are going to make
mean,
a lot of mistakes. They're going to be really good, but they're going to make a lot of mistakes.
I
Just like the freshman
I
team.
don't know. I mean, there's like, I think Igor Demon could like, struggle at BYU for sure. I think especially if he gets a ton of like on ball reps right away.
Yeah.
But I think that this could be a really, really strong freshman class in terms of impact players, like guys that have like really, really big roles on some of these teams. Like we were talking about with Carter Bryant, but even like to the furthest extent with some, like my top four guys that are like almost unanimous across ours. You guys had Mustafa. I did not. I wanted to shout out Carter Bryant and Jaden. Just make sure that we had some even representation across the board, so we can talk about all of them. But yeah, like VJ, I think he'll be solid. Cannon will be solid. Like I don't think a lot of these guys will be like so usage heavy besides Igor that like we're like maybe Christian Anderson, but like I don't think that these guys will be so usage heavy that they'll like we're gonna be talking about like Jacoby Walter-esque like turnovers and stuff like that like
No.
last year.
So I do think if I had
VJ
to,
could be interesting though. Yeah, it could be interesting to see with how he's utilized. And Igor, same thing.
the one thing that I do notice a lot with Scott Drew in the last few seasons is when he gets with the exception of Miro, but Jacoby kind of took the spotlight on that. Um, when he's gotten a high caliber guard recruit, he gives that guy the ball, right? Like we've seen it the last 2 seasons with Keontae George and Jacoby Walter. I don't think that VJ is an exception to this rule. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time, especially as an international recruit, for them to realize, like, oh, shoot, like, we should run our offense through this kid. But I think VJ early on is going to get, like, starting guard minutes and, like, I wouldn't be shocked if VJ has, like, a Jacoby Walter-esque, like, second or third game 20-point bomb, you know? Like, I wouldn't shock me. I think the other three are going to have to fight a bit harder for their minutes. Uh,
Besides
as-
Siam.
yeah, Thiam won't have to fight as hard, but he will a little bit. But Carter and Quaintance will definitely have to earn minutes. Um, but I think if they get minutes, they're both super, super talented players. And Uh, I mean, I've mentioned all of my freshman team. I think Kanan, is it Kanan or Kanan?
I think it's
Kanan.
Kanan.
It is Kanan.
Yeah.
I think Kanan also, who you guys both have, like same with Igor, like they're gonna throw him in pretty early on and just kind of say, let's see what happens. Um, but I think it's interesting with this list because you do have like a 50-50 split of guys that's like, all right, yeah, they're probably gonna get the usage, and guys that's like they're gonna have to really like fight. Um, I think it's intriguing.
100%.
Facts. I think we all pretty much align as far as like the top freshmen. Uh, I'm a little skeptical on Quaintance just because he's so young, and this being a top four conference in all of basketball, so it could be a little weird for him. But the level of center isn't too crazy, like I keep saying, so he could end up, having a really good, a good enough season to get that, freshman nod. That's why I threw in Thiam just because I think he has a real opportunity there, UCF. I think I threw in who I had different than you
You
guys.
had Christian in there.
Christian, yeah, Christian. The thing is about Texas Tech, their guards are it's just like Chance McMillan and Kevin Overton for real. So he could slide right in there and get a bunch of shots. I don't it could be a Christian Anderson show. There's not a bunch of freshmen that are just slide to play Big 12. A lot of teams are about to go with their experienced guys this year. You guys have any like dark horses you can think of, or any sleepers that you think could rise?
Um, Amir Ali, I think it would be
Yeah,
solid for Arizona State. I think it'll be interesting. Um, no, I really think like I've like beaten the Igor Demon horse to death so much so that he hasn't like become like a sleeper like potential like superstar player within the conference anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So in terms of like what baskets I'm putting my eggs in, like Carter Bryant, I think will be solid. Like I think you know what I mean, but I don't have anybody in this conference that are like real deep cut. Um Sleepers. KJ Adams is a non-freshman that we didn't talk about when we talked about Kansas that I wanted to mention
yeah.
um at some point. Who I think could, have like a potential like dark horse impact. KJ Lewis as well is like a similar player within the conference. Um, both guys that I liked um for possibly being draft picks last year, in terms of like dark horse draft prospects. Um, but the freshmen in this conference aren't like, besides like that some of these top guys aren't like crazy. I think that there's a lot of talent elsewhere. Like SEC stacked, ACC
ACC stack.
ACC is crazy for freshman talent. Um, but I think that the transfer talent in this conference is really like is pretty like absurd. And I think that that can kind of like probably leaned into both of you guys' coach of the year selections with Johnny Dawkins of UCF for Cam and Darian DeVries of West Virginia for Julian. I did Jamie Dixon just because I like TCU basketball.
Fair. You know what? I can't hate. My reason for I wanted Darian in there because I think that West Virginia is going to be a lot better than they were last year, and I think he deserves a shout for that alone. Even if
Yeah.
they're not, ridiculously dominant in conference or anything like that.
Our player of the year selections.
I
I
can't
had
believe they
Derek
were all different.
Williams.
I can't believe they were all different. I thought it was going to be like we were going to all just talk about Hunter Dickinson for another 2 minutes.
He can
Really?
if he shoots from three, he'll be like he could real like if he shoots like really shoots like a good volume from the three in terms of like pick and pop stuff, though I think that it's like probably a lock. But otherwise, I think that there's like is some like sense of like there could be a sense of voter fatigue within like his just presence in college basketball as a whole.
That's
And
fair.
they may just want to recognize somebody else. I think Darion Williams is a guy that that I think is that caliber of player that like, if Texas Tech has a really, really good year and yes, they have like some other options that are going to probably get more scoring than him. I still think that he could have like a really, really strong impact and, potentially be a play of the year caliber guy.
I like the voter fatigue argument. That's different. I didn't actually think of that, but I think it's something that could very easily happen.
That's why,
It happened to me. I don't want to talk about Hunter Dickinson anymore.
yeah, that's why I picked Tucker because I just feel like I don't know, I'd probably get tired of voting Hunter. I mean, yeah, he's gonna probably be 18 and 11 or whatever on like silly splits, so he's gonna be easy pick, and they're gonna be the best team in the conference probably. So, but I think that reason if he can get them to like top 8, top 6 in the conference, and he's 20 a game, there's no reason why
Yeah.
he uh,
And then I think there's a similar argument there if Texas Tech like wins the conference outright or something like that for Darian or somebody like that. Like even
yeah, Darion.
I
Do you
agree.
like a Keyshawn Hall possible sleeper?
John Hall there. I love that. I don't even yeah, 100%. Um and then I wanted to also talk about defensive player of the year. Me and Julian agreed on Ugono and Yenso, who I will note at Kentucky, per 40 minutes, the last 2 years is averaging blocks per 40
Jesus
minutes.
Christ, that's ridiculous.
He's different.
He's
I,
a
he was definitely my other pick. I was either gonna be him. I thought about KJ Adams. I thought about
KJ Adams is my dark horse, as you can see by your screen.
I thought about Bandaogo for Cincinnati, but yeah, it's
Dylan Mitchell from Cincinnati too, low key, but
Dylan Mitchell's a good.
yeah. I put Okani because I think he'll get the stocks, and I think he'll have those big perimeter defense moments that voters like to see when it comes to defensive player of the year.
100%. I think that he could very well like come in and add that to his trophy closet.
Because I
Yeah,
think he like clamp most of the. I don't. It might not be a wing that's just going to be able to do whatever they want with Okani. I don't know if there's anyone that has that much juice. Even Darion and Sellers and all.
I think the best version of JJ Taylor.
I'm a Levy Leon's Toby Okani mold.
I like it. He's not Dutch though,
He would
so
be,
Um,
he would be drafted already if he was.
yeah, if he was European, 100%. Um, freshman of the year. I had Igor Diamond. Both you guys have VJ. We've kind of talked a lot about both those guys. Um, most improved player, I had KJ Lewis, slash Amani Hansberry, of Arizona and West Virginia, respectively. Cam said Bryce Thompson for Oklahoma State. Don't really know what ceilings that he could go to. Maybe learn how to shoot a little bit better. What?
Bro, I don't know why I did that. I'm not gonna lie. I just know he's probably gonna get plenty of shots. They're gonna be trash though. Now that we went through this again, they're gonna be trash.
yeah. After going through, you're like, oh,
I don't know. Do they care what team the most improved player comes from? They care, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because I'm thinking about most improved like was already in the conference, and then you see what I'm saying? Like I was only thinking about returners.
Oh, that's fair. I didn't consider that. I mean,
Because I mean, like, yeah, I would pick a whole bunch of other dudes if we're talking about like transfer up and shit.
I
But
mean, KJ Lewis is a returner.
yeah, but he might be having to share the ball OD this year, so I don't know.
But I mean, even for him, like, I don't even think he needs the ball to continue to further the narratives that he's a draftable player.
Yeah,
Um,
but I mean, most improved player in the conference, I think those usually have numbers. So
100%. But I mean, remember, we do things differently here.
yeah, true.
So I mean, sure, Bryce Thompson may, I mean, whatever his number per numbers leap was will probably be better. But I think that there's an opportunity for a guy like Amani Hansberry to go from basically having
Yeah,
no role at Illinois to having a large role at West Virginia, who could very easily fulfill that standard that you're talking about. I think even the best version of KJ Lewis is like, a steal, a block, a couple rebounds, a couple assists, maybe 9, 10 points.
yeah,
Like that's still like
that cheat
as
stuff,
long
right?
as he's playing more, I don't see a reason why he won't be a better player.
Yeah, that's great for him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
regret my Rylan Griffin pick. I'm not gonna lie.
Rylan
I did
Griffin. Yeah,
my
I mean,
secondary.
it's the same argument that could be had there, kind of with KJ Lewis, where it's like, I don't like Cam was saying, we don't really know where the role is going to be for him. But I
Yeah,
mean, does Rylan Griffin really like he probably needs the ball a lot more to be successful than KJ Lewis.
he does. And I do have KJ Lewis as my main option. I threw Rylan Griffin on there as a shout, but I mean, after going back over Kansas's roster, and as we discussed it, kind of regretting that one a little bit. Not as much as
Top
Bryce Thompson.
recruiting class, I had UCF.
Yeah, I had UCF as well. I mean, we talked about how preposterous UCF's recruiting class was. I know Cam's got ASU on there, who also did a very good job.
I put
Yeah,
ASU because you guys both put UCF. I was like, all right, we can't all just put. I definitely agree with UCF being.
nah, it's okay to have unanimous. That means it's an agreeable decision. Top transfer, I put Coleman Hawkins just because he is. Um,
I wanted to.
Yeah.
I put Anthony Del Orso because I love Anthony. I've been an Anthony Del Orso believer for a very long time. For those of you who've never heard me talk about Anthony Del Orso, you probably haven't been listening for the past 2 years. But
Nimble kid.
I'm such a fan of like he's a 6'6" guard who does literally everything with the ball in his hands, and I
well
am
covered early last year in 6 month madness.
yeah, we were all over the Anthony Del Orso bandwagon last year. And now he's transferred up to Arizona. So as usual, we were on point.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean that's just kind of how the way things go around here. And now and now that Cam's here, people, guess what? Things are no different. Guess what? We're still gonna know who's transferring up before all y'all.
Yeah, man, it's not gonna change. It's gonna get worse, honestly.
It's only gonna get better from here, so you might as well subscribe.
Facts.
Um,
I will say about my Zeke Mayo take, Zeke, if they just let him play, be the top guard on that team, he's gonna have the impact and the crazy numbers because his numbers at South Dakota were silly. Yeah,
for a couple of years, he's been good.
and his ability with the ball, just at all levels and playmaking wise, there's not many guards in the conference that can stand up with that. So,
I
I,
think if he has a good year, it's tough for them not to win the conference, to be honest.
yeah,
Like if he's the go-to guard on that team and he plays really well.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say about the freshman of the year. I know we had a VJ. He could very well have to share a little too much to have the numbers to compete with what Igor Demian might do, or like what Kanan might be able to do. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like the guys that
like he's just not gonna put up like 15, 5, and 5. You know what I mean?
not gonna have the high end numbers that some of these other freshmen might get. Now, the good thing is there's not that many freshmen that are in big roles. So, but
Really
there's
only
a few.
one.
Yeah, I mean Christian Anderson's probably gonna have a pretty big role.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you. He's a good player. Team to beat, Kansas.
Again,
For me, I think that all the talent they brought in is pretty irrefutable. Obviously, Arizona is really good as well. And we've kind of made it a whole point of how long this podcast has been and why it's our first one is because we feel like this is one of the better teams or better conferences, sorry, in the country. And we'll stand by that also with our dark horse picks, where I'll say I think UCF has a good chance to win this conference. If there's one team where everything can go right, I think UCF is like the most fun team, like to see like have a dark horse run for sure.
that's kind of why I picked them as well because I don't think everything is going to go exactly right, and that they're gonna like I think they're gonna be good in the conference, but like if it hits, oh my God,
It'll
bro.
be
Like
fun. It'll be fun for
if
sure.
it hits.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to watch college basketball this year.
for
And
sure.
the Big 12 is a big reason why.
All 16 teams. That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys for turning in to this marathon. We appreciate it. Hopefully, you've also seen, clips from this podcast or whatever. And make sure to follow, like, subscribe wherever you can to keep up with the best draft and college basketball content here. And then overall, some of the best basketball content coverage across the board, right here at the Center Hub. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We're off the clock.